And we're live. Oh my goodness. We're
Hello.
so live right now. Welcome everybody to our Chi-cast. Yeah, that's where we're at now.
Yes.
I am the humble yet illustrious Marcus Julian Carbo. With me is the ever beautiful and ever talented Jessica Lewis from your regional squad here in the Delaware Valley. How are you, Jessica?
I'm well.
Have you braved the insanity that is now unfolding in dollar stores and grocery stores and 7-Elevens everywhere?
Yeah. I heard the news through the fire company for whom I volunteer on Thursday night on my way out of a meeting and headed right over to the grocery store and got whatever I might need. And I have not gone to a store since. So I'm good to go.
This is smart. This is intelligence at work here. This is you are why we are at the top of the food chain, because I was dumb enough to think that Philly for some reason would not close down. And yeah, I've been standing in grotesque lines all day. It's
Oh,
been bad.
my issues more yesterday were my whole day really was consumed with transitioning all my live classes over to a Zoom platform. So hello.
That's right. This is the real star of the show.
Yes. Yes, he knows the camera's on.
He's like, hey, pet me, guy. Pet me. I don't think the world wants to see all that, though, Kufu. I think it's going to be all right. We all know.
Yeah.
We all know.
Yeah.
You're very proud of your backside.
By the way, if you hear a beeping in the background on my end, I have oh gosh, I guess it's a FiOS battery of some kind that needs to be replaced. So it beeps about every 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how long we're on.
That's fun.
Sounds like a smoke detector.
That's like when your when your smoke detector is going off, your CO2 or CO monitor is going off, and it's just beep,
Yeah.
beep,
Yeah.
beep.
And if you're really good at Tai Chi, eventually you stop noticing it, but it's all good.
That is absolutely right. That is absolutely right. You're amazed what you can ignore with enough repetition.
Yes. Yes.
So this is our first Chi-cast for our regional group, and we've got a lot of big things going, moving, happening in the midst of like utter chaos that's taking place out in the streets. World Tai Chi Day.
Right.
At the Grubworth Mansion, right?
Right.
I said that right.
You did. And that, to the best of my knowledge, is still on. The Bishop of Wilmington just put out a decree yesterday that all activities at churches would be canceled until further notice. And the Grubworth Mansion is located right next to Holy Rosary Church, right on Philadelphia Pike. It's actually the parish house for the church. But our event is to be held outside. And it seems as if, for now, it's still safe and sound. And I think, as you and I were talking yesterday, people are going to be so thrilled to get outside and breathe some air and be with each other in a really healthy way and move their bodies and move their energy. It's just going to be awesome.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm looking at the next potential 2 weeks of being cooped up and thinking, what am I going to need to do to not go stir crazy? Because we're Tai Chi instructors. That's what we do. We move, we groove, and we jump from place to place to place.
Right.
And I don't think I'm ever with anyone more than like 90 minutes in a day.
Right.
Other than the cat. But that's not my choice. So now to actually be home and just be in one spot.
Yeah.
It's you actually posted something recently which talked about, getting back in touch with oneself, reading once again, meditating once again. Honestly, getting the domestic life back into balance, which we often let go because of how busy we are.
Right. Yeah. I think actually we live in an unprecedented time. I just I just can't imagine even our parents ever thinking some of the things that we often think or say out loud, some of the things that we often say out loud, like, oh my gosh, I just don't feel like making dinner tonight.
Mm.
I, uh, I'm just too tired to go outside and just take a walk. I just, I don't feel like meal prepping. I mean, all these things, that all these issues that we have. I think in many
I
ways,
talked with a yeah,
good.
I talked with a friend earlier, and she was saying like a friend of hers was saying to her, "What am I going to do if they run out of bread?" And my friend who's older was like, "Well, then make your own bread."
I know.
Okay.
Or eat some veggies. I mean, the funny thing was on Thursday night when I went to the store, because, I'm also a nutritional counselor. As I walked in, I thought, wow, I wonder if the cupboard's already going to be bare. And not for the foods I buy. There were plenty of fresh vegetables. At that time, there were plenty of frozen meats or whatever. I actually buy organic or only kosher chicken, and there was tons of that. Everything else was gone. So it maybe, in some weird way, maybe this will give everybody a wake up call that they've needed for a while, about.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think in many ways, while the situation itself is less than favorable and less than wanted, there are obviously people that are being hurt, lives that are being ruined, and healths that are going to be impacted by this for years potentially to come.
Right.
You're right. There is a positive spin to this. There's
Right.
getting back in touch with the people you live with. We're finding out that, oh yeah, your boss could have let you work from home this entire time.
Uh-huh.
We're putting the internet to work in the way that it was always designed in communication. And I mean, I don't know if you know this, but the internet was actually designed back in the 50s in order to ensure communication should a nuclear war take place between
Oh, I did.
us and Russia. Yeah, freaking crazy. So the internet's totally a DoD invention, right? And then they gave it to us, when they gave it to us. But now here it is. We've got sort of this not nuclear but biological warfare going on right now,
Right.
and it's up to the internet. We need the internet to make it all happen and continue classes, stay in touch with not customers, but with our clients, with our players, with each other. It's kind of cool that we live in this world and that can be the way we handle it.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I spent, as I said, all day kind of transitioning to, a different way of teaching. And so I just sent something out on the Tai Chi Teacher Circle Facebook group, which is like Tai Chi Fits, connector, Tai Chi Fits instructor Facebook page. And a couple of my friends who live in the UK and a gentleman I know who lives in Italy actually messaged me right away, and they're like, this is great, now we can attend your class. And it never crossed my mind. I never see these people personally except for like every few years if I'm lucky.
Right.
So yeah, so in some ways, now tonight I'm going to have more than one Tai Chi instructor in the room.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, also sometimes the best of human spirit comes out in these really difficult times. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the amazing things that occur as a direct result of this.
Absolutely. I mean, there's obviously a yang side to this where we're watching the insanity of our species sort of roll out here. But there is that inspiration that's happening. People taking care of each other, people being responsible. Watching like a lot of the celebrities and shows, even the debate last night, where there's no studio audience anymore. Bernie and Biden may have been in two separate rooms for what it looked like.
Are they even in the same? Are they in the same building? I don't
They
know.
were in the same building. They said they were 6 feet apart, but I don't think they were. They certainly weren't on the same stage. I don't think
Yeah.
definitely didn't have the same platforms.
Telephone booths. They were in telephone booths, like Dr.
There it is. There it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a telephone booth in South Philly that's still standing on Snyder Avenue. I wouldn't suggest going in it, but it does exist if you want it.
If you want to feel like you're in a time warp, you can step into that.
Oh,
The other thing that occurred to me this morning is, as I was talking to some of the other teachers about what's happening. There's that alarm, by the way.
yep.
Was I said, well, nobody, well, maybe not I, because I don't pay much attention to the news, was expecting something like this. And then I remember the old Monty Python joke: nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. And I've been laughing about it ever since, so it's all good. So I guess your strongest recommendation to all of your friends and students is the same as mine. Just get outside as much as you can. If for no other reason than houses become toxic and we need to breathe air from time to time. And it's just so much healthier for you to do Tai Chi outside anyway. I mean, you're connecting into the huge battery in the ground when you're doing
That's right.
that. Why not?
Yeah, have you found hesitance in your players, the ones that you've known and they've always trained indoors? Have you found hesitance in them to go outside?
No. In fact, they often say,
Really?
why didn't I think of that?
Mm.
Yeah. And
My players all the time, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do this outside. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to do that." And I don't know if it's maybe they don't want to be seen by the general public, or which understand like once you get a little of the chi flowing, no one knows the difference. Unless you're in our field, no one knows the difference between someone's good and someone's bad.
oh, for sure.
Especially when you're moving in a group.
Well,
And
last winter time, my teacher April created a flash mob, Tai Chi flash mob at it was awesome at the Springfield Mall. We did it at the King of Prussia Mall and the Springfield Mall at Christmas time.
wow,
Yeah,
that
and
had to have been intense.
it was. For the first time in I've actually trained a few minor league baseball players as a personal trainer, but I've never played baseball, But for the first time, I kind of was getting what it's like to clear the mechanism, because the minute you start moving, we didn't even notice people were walking around. We stopped noticing them.
Absolutely. Funny enough you say that. 2017, I got to host the online Philly World Tai Chi Day.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this whole plan and we had a great itinerary, very similar to what we're doing now, but on such a smaller scale. Like it was just me and my students. But I wanted to start with the Chen 27. And it was this form that I went out and I learned just to open our ceremony. And I'm like you, I do Tai Chi all the time. I perform in front of people all the time. I'm always in front of groups. But I got up knowing that, like, and this is before I was like knew David Dorian Ross. Like I knew he was watching, I knew Bill Douglas was watching, I knew like all these people were watching. And I was the idiot that put myself like right on center stage as this thing was opening in Philadelphia. And I was so incredibly nervous until I got through the third move.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everything went away. Everything went away, and you just kind of follow the wave, the chi, if you will.
Yeah.
And it was just you're just in your own place once again, and it's amazing how quickly you get wrapped up and forget the outside world. I mean, I know like as an instructor, when we're outdoors and I see like passerbys coming, I'll definitely shift things to make everybody look good, so that they can look cool when someone's coming by. But other than that, like people love it. It brings such a beauty to the world.
Yeah.
There's and you get to produce that in many ways. In practicing your Tai Chi, you are making the world a better place just by doing it outside.
Yeah. And you know what? The truth is, again, we're in such a unique moment in time, and I think that we're a completely unique society. every ancient culture has some understanding of the value of mind-body practices in terms of
Sure.
your overall health. But we somehow have decided that that's woo-woo. Even though there's a lot of hard science out there now, which we can talk about in a few minutes if you like.
Oh
But
yeah.
but when people pass by and they see this happening, they immediately become relaxed themselves.
Yep.
So in many ways, getting very visible, I think, is one of the ways that we can continue to help shift, potentially cause a shift, I should say, in our public health policy, because it really needs to shift. It needs to include the words health and well-being should include in their definitions things like Tai Chi or yoga
Sure.
or anything that gets you out of your head.
Mm-hmm. And
And
into yourself.
yes,
To find your health, you have to go out of your mind.
yes, out of your head. And you also just nailed it a couple of minutes ago when you were saying, once you start, you know, you're in the motion, so you're in the movement, you're there. So
Mm-hmm.
even if it is woo woo, and I don't think it is, that
No.
these practices enhance your physical health, if they just give you a few minutes a day out of your head, you
Yeah.
are still gaining massive ground on
Oh,
creating much
absolutely.
better health and well-being.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know. So just recently in my own practice, and I actually have DDR to thank for this, I had this awakening moment. And we have those throughout our careers, these eureka moments of like, oh, and this was this internal experience where I had hit the zone, as we would say. I had, you know, uh, um, combined or coordinated mind, body, and breath as one, and I was sort of one with the Tao, if you will.
Mhm.
And but I've only ever been able to hold that for a few moments.
Mhm.
And while we were practicing, I was able to hold on to it for a good 45, 60, 75 seconds all at once. And it was intense,
It is amazing.
absolutely intense. So I can only imagine, you know, the Tai Chi masters of any house or style holding that for 20, 30, 60 minutes at a time.
Right.
No wonder they're so like them, you know, and just so chill.
Chill.
But I don't know what that was, but I know that it was real. And
Yes.
I think a lot of what we see as woo woo, we just haven't figured out what it is yet, scientifically or medically.
Right.
You know, like I can pinpoint, oh, well, when you go into yourself, it's a psychological thing because you have so many things going on at once. We know that your nerves, your musculoskeletal synaptic pathways are affected because you're continuing to redo the process over and over.
Mhm.
We know your density is going to get stronger in your bones and your muscles because you're putting weight and gravity on it. Those are all physics. That's not magic.
Mhm.
But this feeling was something else. And I don't know if it was just a swell of serotonin and dopamine, and that very well may have been what it was.
Yeah.
But my biochemistry did something funky in that moment.
I get it. No, I get it. Because we've all been there, and Tai Chi Cha language, we call that the Tai Chi Cha doing the Tai Chi Cha. You know,
There it
you're just
is.
along for the
There
ride.
it is.
And I think that all that it absolutely exists, and it's indescribable. The closest I've ever come to understand having a better way of describing it is how have you studied any mindfulness?
Sure.
Okay, so Douglas Harding has this entire website called The Headless Way. And
Okay. Yep.
the theory is the head can't see itself.
Correct.
So if you boil us all down to our absolute essence, we're nothing other than just a big ball of awareness.
In
And
many ways, yeah.
yeah, and when we're able to, rather than hold those 65 seconds or whatever, I would say glimpse. When we're able to glimpse that, whatever it is, you know, we are looking out from our awareness as if
Mm-hmm.
we're the head that cannot see itself, you know,
Correct.
and we're just they're observing the world going by, like stepping back from underneath Niagara Falls, which is where most of us stand most of the day, being waterboarded by Niagara Falls, but stepping back, yeah, into the cave behind it, like we're on the Maid of the Mist, and just watching it go by. It's so beautiful. It's so
Right.
beautiful. Nothing is wrong. Everything is just beautiful in that place. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I mean, you're familiar with Taoist traditions, and what we're describing is Wu Wei. It's that action without doing, that being in the zone, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
People, even the ancients got this one wrong, right? Because they thought, well, Wu Wei, you just sit in a monastery and meditate all day and don't do anything. When what it really meant was, yes, in some cases that is the correct thing to do. Like in Monopoly, you wait your turn, but you absorb the board, But the other side, the other side of Wu Wei,
Xenopoly.
yeah, there you go. Hashtag TM,
Yes.
hashtag just because. But the other side is like you practice something for so long that it becomes instinctual, that you no longer have to act, you just do, right? Or you don't have to do, you just act.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what that is, but you're so in the zone that, and this is an interesting philosophical question that I'm going to lay at your feet, right? So in those moments when, like you said, letting the Tai Chi Chud do what the Tai Chi Chud does, it's doing it now. Wu Wei, however you want to put it, being in the zone and being so one with everything, versus what you just described in mindfulness, which is to step back as if you were on the shore observing the ocean, right? So square those two up for me there. Square those two up.
Oh, well, I think it's both and. I mean, I think it's the yin and the yang, because there's a little spot of yin in the yang, and there's a little spot of yang in the yin. So I don't see that they're different. I see that they're the same thing, and maybe just stupid human language trying to describe things that are indescribable.
That's it. Words getting in the way once again.
Yeah. Like, I mean, some of the really coolest things that I have observed since joining the Tai Chi for Veterans Network is in many ways how many things we have in common.
Sure.
And it's funny, I'm about to throw myself under the bus. I'm a little ashamed to admit it, but it's the truth, so I'll just admit it. Somewhere along the line, over the years that I studied Tai Chi Cha, and probably with no malice intended, in my efforts to describe the slight distinctions between it and other Tai Chi practices, it's possibly true I got a little judgy about, like, mine is good and theirs is not, And when I joined this network, I realized, what the heck, which we are all just using slightly different dialects on the same principles.
Right.
And stupid human words, they just fail sometimes, Yeah. So
it's funny, Andrew Townsend, who's he's a contemporary. He's studied with Master Huang in Honolulu, and it's currently, to my knowledge, is a current student of Dr. Jesse Tao over in San Diego, so the Shen master. And he was saying the exact same thing you just described, which often, and all the houses, all the lineages, all the styles are guilty of this. We focus so much on what makes us different from everything else that we forget all the similarities and how they can be useful to each other as instructors, as players. And there's a bigger sort of a lesson with that. If you look at the two most powerful civilizations that have ever existed, both ourselves and the Roman Empire, they got there not because of what made them better, but because they looked at all these other cultures and were like, well, we like this piece here, we're going to take that. This piece there, we're going to take this. And just make their own thing. And it was distinctively Roman, distinctively American.
Yes.
And I think Tai Chi's headed in that direction.
I think so too. I really do. And Oh gosh, I was about to say something important, but I guess it just flew out of my head.
It went back to
Menopause
the
is not for the
Tao.
faint of heart. I'll just tell you that.
You should have signed a longer lease.
Oh my God, I know, I know, I know. Oh, it'll come back. But you know what, if you want, let's talk about some of the really like not woo-woo scientific reasons
Sure,
why it's important to practice Tai Chi in general, you know? Like,
sure,
I bet you've heard of Dr. Richard Davidson.
of course.
And he has been laying some incredible groundwork in, I guess, over the last decade or so. He and his team of neuroscientists up at the University of Wisconsin in Madison have been doing some profound work on the nature of well-being. And they've decided that it boils down to four things. There's just four little attributes to well-being that when practicing some sort of mindfulness,
Mhm.
and there's all different kinds of mindfulness in the world, that
Sure.
one also is naturally enhancing those four constituents of well-being. So it's almost like you are learning to be well. So they are, let me make sure I get them all right. The first is an attitude of resilience. So like how fast you pop back from adversity. And the second one is a positive mental outlook. So like how rose colored are your glasses, you know?
Mhm.
And the next one is the ability to pay attention. And if you think about it, our society rewards people for lack of attention. We have all these multitasking tools, you know, which by definition requires you don't pay too much attention to anything. And then the last thing is an attitude of generosity. So I don't know as much about the research about various other Tai Chi styles because they're not the ones that I'm accredited to teach. But I do know for a fact that the Arthritis Foundation and the American Medical Association and even the Mayo Clinic have all endorsed Tai Chi Cha as a moving form of mindfulness. So,
Sure.
you know, not everybody wants to sit down with the intent of emptying their mind. I mean, I think even John Kabat-Zinn once said that that might be the hardest, easiest thing you'll ever do. But it's fun to move, right?
Sure.
So why not just kill lots of birds with one stone? And then also all of these practices do qualify as low-level exercise. So then you're killing a third bird with one stone. It's just like a really powerful bang for the buck, and it's certainly not woo-woo.
No, not at all. Just even the breathing itself oxygenates the blood more, which feeds the muscles, which gives you energy, which then you're breathing more, so you're exhaling more carbon dioxide, getting more of the toxins out, the bad cells, and so on. There's a lot of science behind it, without question. I mean, it's one of the reasons that Tai Chi was chosen as the modality for the Tai Chi for Veterans program, because we have all of the research
Right.
that a lot of modalities unfortunately don't. And I think yoga is kind of regretting the fact that it hasn't done as much work as Tai Chi has in putting itself out there. But that said, uh, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right when it comes to because when people think of meditation, they think I'm going to sit here and think about nothing,
Mhm.
and that's not really what meditation is or mindfulness is.
Right.
It's just being observant in
Right.
that moment, observing the moment, moment's gone, observing the moment, moment's gone, observing the moment, moment's gone, and
Right.
not getting wrapped up in the past or whatever, what have you. And Tai Chi, regardless of modality, keeps you in the moment, because if you're thinking about what you just did, you're missing what's going on now. Or if you're worried about what's coming up, you're going to mess up what you're doing right now.
Right.
And what you're thinking about, you're going to get there. You're going to get there if you do what you're doing right now. You stay
Right.
in this moment, you'll get there. If
Right.
you stay in this moment, you'll forget what you just did, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, I hate the fact that some people now imply that mindfulness is like a superpower, because you know nothing is a superpower. We're all human beings.
Exactly.
But in many ways, it is a superpower because it kind of puts us in touch with our limitlessness in many ways. We're completely free from anxiety when we're not feeling any worry or pain. And you can't feel any worry or pain when you're simply in the present moment. You know, and
That's exactly right.
And even if you just think about, like, and again, I don't know as much about other Tai Chi styles as I know about the one that I'm accredited to teach, but when you are focusing on allowing, that we call it the Dantian, that sort of energetic brain in the center of your body to flow forward and back, or even if you're just focusing on your weight shift, like, where is my weight right now? And right now I'm going to shift to the front foot, and now I'm going to shift into the back again. Even when you're just doing that, you're drawing your energy out of your head down through this huge Dumo meridian, the big meridian in your body, and where thoughts go, energy flows. So, and another thing that's really cool is we used to think that the Chinese acupuncturists, all that meridian thing was all woo woo, but gosh, the University of Seoul did this amazing study a few years ago. They mapped out the meridian system using contrast dye and imaging equipment, for Pete's sake. And all those little diagrams we've been seeing for years were dead on. They were absolutely accurate. And they proposed that the meridian system is actually part of the vascular system. They're calling it the primo vascular system, which means it must be incredibly important. So again, I think it's funny. We threw out all of this stuff that worked for 10,000 years for so many millions of people and decided that it was useless. And now we're using, new medicine to figure out that it's not. And then all of a sudden it's valid again. But I guess that doesn't really matter, really.
As long as we're here, because we're here now. That's what matters. No, I think you're right. We as a human, as a species, and we have the Industrial Revolution to sort of thank for that separation between mind, body, and breath, which everything just became straight lines and schedules. Even back when it first started, it was about how can we conquer nature, whereas before we had to live with it, we had to deal with it, and sacrifices to the gods were simply us trying to balance the books.
You can look at it that way.
Right. So in the industrial age, we put our big boy pants on and thought we were gods ourselves and started to conquer land in ways we had never done before.
Right.
And not only did we try to conquer the nature outside, we tried to conquer the nature within.
Right.
And when you look at like the work patterns of people prior to the industrial age, serfs would have worked less hours than we work today. Right? We have a chair, but they would have worked less time. Then you go back to ancient Rome, and by noonish, 1 o'clock-ish our time, they were done for the day, and they went off and they did their thing. Granted, they woke up with the sun, but notice that when you do that, you have more energy. You're moving and grooving, and then you kind of hit that midday crash, that siesta. So, but industrialism doesn't allow for that. So in many ways, by taking us out of nature, it has taken the nature of us out. And because of that, modernization all by itself doesn't balance the books for human beings. It just doesn't. And so now we're finding out, oh, wait, we still have to do those things. And the sad part, the distraction part was we kept the envelope that all of it was wrapped in, which was religion. But we didn't keep the stuff that made the religion valuable.
Right.
Because industrialism squashed all of that stuff out. So you kept the dogma and you kept the rules, but you lost the spirituality that you would have had prior to industrialization. Yeah. So I think when you think of yoga and you think of acupuncture, and even though acupuncture, there's a lot of straight lines, you think of the actual puncture itself, that's all circular. Right. And that's all a swirl. And when you think of Tai Chi, everything is circular in Tai Chi, and everything is curving at all times. So reintroducing that curvature, that natural wiggleness, the wiggles that modernity has actually eliminated. It's kind of fun. Because you even think back to the ancient Greeks, their columns, though they look straight to the eye, they're bowed. Themselves are designed as a bow, We see them as straight, but if they would have made them straight, they would have been like looking as if they were going to collapse in on us. And that's not pleasant at all. No one likes that feeling.
Or look at the first arches were curvy, which, was
Yes,
crazy at first, but when they really looked at it, they realized that the load was distributed quite perfectly and evenly as long as it was a curve.
that's right. So
And then,
not only is it pleasant, but it's powerful.
mhm, mhm. I know it's
That's it. And
crazy.
unfortunately, we see straight lines as the power, like a steel girder or a building or something of that nature. When true power actually comes from the curve.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think that you have to drill down very far into even our modern day religions before you see that
Sure.
there are lots of ways in which they overlap. But, human beings have this negative bias. We like to us and them. We make judgments within a fraction of a second the minute we
Yeah.
encounter someone. Is he like me? Is he not? And so, because of our natural, campy behavior, uh, we like to sort people out, and we get in our own way. And as a nutritional counselor, I think of what you just said is we've been trying to apply this ability, unique ability of ours to automate everything to everything. You can't raise crops and animals like it's an assembly line. It's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, people, we all get in our own ways all the time. We do it all the time. So I'm just so grateful, I guess I should say, that we're finally beginning to incorporate alternatives or complementary practices. And back to the good old VA, for an organization that big, it's always been the largest government entity, and it still is, to say, yeah, we think Tai Chi should definitely be included in our veterans' healthcare plans. That must absolutely mean the evidence is overwhelming and irrefutable. So this might
There
be
it
the
is.
front edge of like a wave of change, which may sweep over our entire public health system. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think humanity is at a crossroads because we had the 20th century, which was sort of the apex of industrialism, and we've hobbled our way into the 21st century as a resistance, a Ludditism, if it were, is now resisting modernity, and then you have the tip of the spear, like you were saying, where no, we can combine what we knew in the past and what we have in the present and make something amazing. There is wisdom in both,
Mhm.
and that's where it's coming in. Where modern medicine is now looking at ancient practices and saying, "Wow, yes, this works. We just now know why it works."
Mhm. Mhm.
Because something as old as Tai Chi, the philosophy being 4,000 years old,
Mhm.
um, and the practice being over 1,000 years old,
Mhm.
that that doesn't stick around for no reason.
Right.
You
It,
know
it sticks around because it works.
that's right. That's exactly right.
And actually, if you think of the Tao, it looks like that,
Sure,
it's suggestive of an entirely different way of thinking than what we do here. We're
oh
very like,
sure,
things are right or they're wrong. They are or they're not. Yes, yeah. But but in the yin, there's a drop of yang. In the yang, there's a drop of yin, and they fit together like this, and the balance lies along the curve. So it's
sure.
both and. We need to embrace, we need to have a different way of looking at things, as it's only one way or the other. There needs to
Oh,
be
I agree.
a
I agree.
potential way.
It's funny you said that. I have a backdrop now for the live shows,
Mhm.
and big old Tai Chi Wu up there. And as we were moving, I'm watching how my movements are patterning the yin yang symbol
Mhm.
through Tai Chi, right? So in that, whether you know it or not, you're learning these philosophies, and it goes to the point of teaching without teaching.
Mhm.
Speaking of the Tao, and learning without learning, you're
Mhm.
learning these things, you're teaching these things, and you're not trying to do it.
Right,
You're just doing it
right,
because it's becoming the pattern of the body.
right.
So again, mind, body, and breath. You have to have a strong body. You have to have a strong mind. You
Right.
have to be able to breathe in order to be a full person. And I think one of the issues, and I don't know why this is, that it's something to really look into. I have theories, but no real, or hypotheses, but no real evidence to this, is I don't understand why the West lost its connection to mind and body. When we treat mental illness, we treat it as if it is something separate from the
Mhm.
body, despite the fact that neurology and neurology teaches us that the brain is just another organ.
Mhm.
Now it's a fancy friggin' organ, and it's the most complicated thing we've ever, come across in our limited existence.
Yeah.
But it's still a part of the body.
Yeah.
So the mind is then, therefore, a part of the body. So to treat depression or PTSD or bipolarism or any number of mental illnesses
Mhm.
as if they were anything different from cancer or a broken leg is silly on the part
Yeah. Just a,
of the medical community.
yeah.
Whereas in a practice like Tai Chi, everything is wrapped into one.
Mhm.
The whole body, mind, body, and spirit,
Mhm.
or breath, I should say.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I recently presented the Tai Chi for Veterans program at the Brain Injury Association of Delaware's annual conference. I was the only presenter there who wasn't a scientist or a doctor.
There we go.
And I'll tell you what, talk about feeling nervous. Oh my word. Oh my word. But anyway, where I'm going with this is I've had a student for quite some time that has a traumatic brain injury. And when I first met him, he was a hot mess. It's a
Yeah.
hot mess. Um, and he's still got, ways to go. But I'll tell you what, he does Tai Chi Cha better than a lot of people in the room. And I'm 100% sure one of the reasons why he's doing so well is because he took Tai Chi Cha on. And my gosh, how the brain goes, even just think about the definition of the word psychosomatic. Even if it starts in the psyche, it becomes a somatic issue. So
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in the brain? And we forget that there's such a thing as acquired brain injury. So that everything qualifies as that almost. Alzheimer's, the fogginess I have because I'm 10 years postmenopausal, Parkinson's, Lewy body, depression, all these things, they are still brain injuries. They're just acquired rather than traumatic. And there's lots of ways that we can treat all of this stuff and treat the body at the same time.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you mic drop right there. Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Especially for a closing statement. Well, I think we're at the end of our time for the most part, unless we want to go on for another 5 minutes or so. But yeah, I think that's a great note to end on for our very first Chi-cast in the Tai Chi with Veterans group, which is awesome.
Yes.
So thank you for being awesome and carrying me through this whole thing.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Marcus. I will say one more thing that I've shared with the Tai Chi Chuck community is that through this program, I have met so many different kinds of people. And in many ways, all you guys are my teachers just as much as some of my most important teachers are. I've learned so much. So I'm just very grateful to be part of the program. It's been a really mind-blowing experience for me, and very grateful and honored to be part of this program.
Cool.
So
So
thank you,
plug
Marcus,
yourself real
for all
fast.
you're doing, because you're actually a bigger part of it than most people realize.
I do things. I drink and I know things. That's how that works. So yeah, plug yourself while we still got some time. Where can we find you?
Oh, so yes. So check out my website. It's just very, very rich with information. The name of my company is Sculpt Your Life. Sculpt, as in a sculptor, you're in charge of your life. YOUR life. But that name was taken when I went to get my domain. So it is www.sculpt, SCULPT, life.com.
That's very millennial of you.
I know. Yes, 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 yes. Or find me on Facebook. So look for Sculpt Your Life. It's spelled the right way, YOUR. Sculpt Your Life with Jessica Lewis, CPT CNC.
Awesome. Awesome. And you're going to be growing your brand even bigger now for YouTube and Twitter and all that kind of good stuff as well. So once you get those things up and running, let us know.
Oh, I'm on. I'm on all this stuff.
Oh, you're out. Well, then plug. Come on, plug. Be a millennial.
I don't remember the names. That's how millennial I am. Yeah. So just look for Sculpt Your Life. Just look for it everywhere. It's all over there. And I'm on YouTube. I got a lot of stuff, a lot of videos. Everything's up there.
There it is.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
And same thing for me. You can find me Tai Chi with Marcus, both Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. Yeah. That name was not taken when I cornered the market. So that was easy. And also you can find us both and all of our instructors at Tai Chi with Veterans, Facebook. We haven't put up the Twitter account yet, but YouTube is coming. We're already on Gmail and all that kind of good stuff. So getting bigger, 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 and moving more every day.
And check out World Tai Chi Day on April 25th. We really think it's going to fly. It's going to be awesome.
That's right. And even if you're not in the Delaware Valley, look for your local World Tai Chi Day. We're going to be linking up with instructors across the country and across the globe on that day, hence the world portion of it. You get to be a part of this huge community while having so much fun in person. So we don't do anything small. We're all big thinkers in our group. Like, let's do World Tai Chi Day. Let's conquer Northern Delaware. Copy that.
Well, we're only in Delaware because Philly was busy that day.
yeah, Philly's super busy that day.
Yeah.
Oh, super busy, which is fun. It's a good. We live in we're lucky to live in a very cultural, a deep cultural region.
Yeah.
Right? Or a region with a lot of deep cultural ties.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Yeah. Even though they're all closed right now.
Yeah.
All right. Be safe, Jessica. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah,
thanks for having me with you.
Yeah. Take care. See you soon.
See ya.
Bye-bye.